Hello, everyone. I'm Grace Najjar, the Managing Director of the Project Management Institute in MENA. I would like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today with our esteemed panelists to discuss the digital transformation shaping the business world. Please feel free to type in your question on the Q&A section. I'll make sure to address it to our panelists at the end of my first questions. As you know, technological revolution have always impacted the way we live and work. The technological disruption is advancing more rapidly than ever before. It's leading to even wider societal changes and pushing nations to reform accordingly. For instance, His Highness Sheikh Mohammad bin Rashid Al Maktoum has recently announced the new government strategic approach, which consists of 5 pillars around the importance of leading major transformative projects, working with speed and flexibility, empowering and investing in national talents, and the importance of collaborative work and basing acknowledgement and performance on results. In light of these new directions, and along with others executive leaders from the MENA, we believe that innovation and technological advancements are at the heart of all of these reforms. Speed and transformation can only be achieved through the proper reinforcement of technology and through the major investments in these areas. And moreover, the megatrends and COVID-19 have accelerated the technology enablement. Technology has now become embedded in every business acumen and have played a major role in driving this transformation, leading to a rise in demand for meaningful investment and transformative projects. Therefore, in the project economy, and where all the world is now organized more and more around projects, project management is now needed more than ever before. So that said, project management skills and capabilities are playing a decisive role in effective positive change and in transformation. And it's no surprise that McKinsey has listed project management as one of the top skills of the future. At PMI, we're helping individuals, organizations, governments, and community transform effectively and successfully and embrace the capabilities needed to empower talent, lead with purpose, and develop sustainable projects. Our panel today will help shed the light on the importance of technology in driving nations and government breakthrough, examine the power of technology and technological investments to close economical gaps and downturns, help the environment and workforce in changing nations, and how project management capabilities are helping in driving fast and effective delivery for big tech providers, and what are the opportunities and challenges when it comes to talent, skilling, and upskilling. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome and introduce our esteemed panelist, Dr. Mohammad Redha, Executive Director at Health Informatics and Smart Health Department at DHA, and our PMI UAE Chapter President. Welcome, Dr. Redha. Engineer Eisa Al-Ali, the Vice President of the PMO at North 25 Dubai Holding. Welcome, Engineer Eisa. Peter Chalouhy, the business leader at the Advisory and Implementation Services at Kyndryl. And joining us virtually, Osama Al-Zoubi, the CTO of the Middle East and Africa and Cisco. So welcome, my esteemed, welcome and marhaba. It's the great honor and opportunity to have you all with us and gain more and more valuable insights. Thank you so much. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Redha. How do you think the technology is helping, in particular, the healthcare sector, which is one of the sectors that has undergone massive technological transformation? So how has it helped with this needed speed, efficiency, and with the transformation that has happened?
Thank you for having me, Grace. I think the healthcare sector has enjoyed major transformations over the past 20 to 30 years. So since the end of the 1990s, hospitals have thought of hospital of the future. What will it look like, and what will it be entitled to do, and what should its doctors, its nurses, its healthcare professionals be saving their time doing rather than filling up forms. So immediately we saw systems, I wouldn't call them electronic medical record systems, but some sort of systems to avoid filling in forms. And these forms were very much in Excel format or PDF format, but you still had to fill them manually. Fast forward today, we almost see hospitals that have their light bulbs with IP addresses. And I think very soon we will see the beds wheels with IP addresses as well. So that transformation took multiple little transformations. Now, if I may also be thankful and grateful to the digital transformations that happened over the past 10 years, specifically in Dubai, which proved itself very well during the pandemic. So, alhamdulillah, during the pandemic, we had infrastructure that helped us, help the city, and help the leadership of the city take the right directions, take the right decisions. And as you know, health was very important. It is still very important. And it's today a major priority for all governments, I think, across the world. So the digital transformation, be it in piecemeal additions or continuous transformation, and I think we will continue to transform 10 years down the road. If we would have the same discussion, I think we would be talking about a different set of technologies, multiple transformations I see happening again to help the patient. Honestly, we are thinking a lot about the patient, thinking about the convenience that the patient will enjoy, and the digital journey of the patient, I think, is going to consume a lot of our energy going forward.
Thank you so much. Engineer Eisa, from the construction perspective, I know that you are leading huge investments, and construction has always been a very stable profession, even though as the complexity is growing and the demand is growing. So how the construction is benefiting from the technological advancements while you're focusing more and more on speed, efficiency, and sometimes changing new ways of working and perhaps new business models embedded in your industry?
Thank you very much, Grace, for the great introduction. As everybody knows, construction is one of the oldest industry, and it is also based on a traditional way of developing and building buildings, infrastructure, bridges, you name it, human challenges. However, it is under a big question now. The industry of the construction should transform, and we have started to see some elements, but you know, as you know, it's labor-intensive business. That's why reducing number of people is not a matter of just cost. Technology in the construction helps in cost, but also helps humans have a better life. So if you have less people, they are less hazardous to risk and health and safety issues at site. You build things faster. There's less human error, and you utilize human brain, I would say, in the most important and sophisticated way, which computer cannot do or technology cannot do. So that generally, and we started to see nowadays some people using drones and cameras to supervise, to monitor things in difficult places. I started to see people having drones in the AC units. So that gives you faster approach to know where the problems are post-construction. And building management system, what we call BIM as well, is not new. It was there for like at least 15 years. But now thinking about it, it's not a matter of the building as it's finished. No, this can be strategically looked at from the early days. So the journey starts earlier. So nowadays construction transformation is looking at different journeys and how it can bring efficiency, I would say also safety to human life. From a project management and real estate perspective, where I lead one of the largest portfolios, let's say, of real estate in the city of Dubai, we're looking at business side of it, at project management side of it. You know, we have engineers, it's a bunch of engineers around us and experts. We don't want them to spend time on Excel sheet, as Dr. Mohammad said, or on basic things which are trivial for them. They've done it for the past 10, 15 years. We want the best out of their capabilities and let the software and solution does the easy part, the repeated ones. And I think we are reaching under the bigger umbrella we are transforming the business not from a one-stop or one solution for a portion of the business, but we're talking a one-stop shop that holistically with time that becomes like a big data for us. So portfolio of 30 billion with projects more than 100, you need solution for that. And I think we are getting there. We're reaching a certain maturity level. Probably within 2 years, we'll reach to the target goal of maturity that we're looking for.
Very informative. Peter, tell us more about your experience. You're leading advisor and implementation of one of the biggest technology solutions.
Thank you, Grace, for this. And when you talk information technology, I think the question becomes a little bit more easier because IT became the most important partner of any business. But if we need to look at how we are we're helping and we're going to help further the organization and the government. Dubai is a great experience and example to see how quickly information technology can enable leaders to execute vision. How can we execute and execute with purpose? How can we choose the right projects from the portfolio and help the people, be it in COVID, in Expo, in GITEX, in any experience, to give them more value, more comfort, more convenience. IT, if we look today at mobility computing, at cloud computing, we can see that we are reducing the factor of geography. And by doing this and putting the services in the cloud, the team is working with resilience, with security. You don't need the processes, the lengthy processes of procuring physical assets. Even physical interaction through COVID was at its minimal, yet many businesses continue to deliver their value to the public. If we move a little bit forward and say what application or artificial intelligence or data mining and data science is providing, I think this is where we talk about the future. The humans are capable of defining and breaking down the problems into specific scientific data. Then they are automating them. By automating them, they are letting your engineers work faster and your doctors work faster. And then we move these tasks to move further in innovation in the future. So I really believe that IT is and will become even a stronger partner. The last point I want to touch base on is today the CIOs, the director wants the advisors and the project managers because you don't want to experiment with your budget. You want to use your budget to make successful projects. And this is where also the technology of having these smart, enabled consultants and project managers help us provide real value to the public.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Osama, you are the author of the book called The Digital Disruption. So I think you have lots to say around the topic. So we're all welcoming you and virtually. So let us hear your experience there.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Grace. I'm honored to be part of this esteemed panel. I heard what the gentleman on the panel said, and I also heard your introduction, Grace. It is really amazing content, amazing information, and also amazing thoughts. If we were to take a look at the past, I would say decade or a little bit more, digital transformation has been a core topic to the majority of the strategies of organizations in governments and in private sector. And we thought that we were moving at speed that we never saw before until the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, where the world was hit with the unfortunate pandemic. And that put every system, every procedure, every work that we have done to the limit. I believe in the region, in the MENA region, particularly in countries like the United Arab Emirates, countries like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, other countries in the region as well, have really invested significantly in the previous phase that during the pandemic, that massive investment has paid off. We were lucky in these countries and these regions to have seen all of this investment that built an infrastructure that was core and important, in particular to the healthcare, to education and many other sectors, but primarily those. That's why those governments managed to actually take giant steps towards confronting the pandemic and dealing with the pandemic. While previously we thought we're going to see something different, and the unfortunate pandemic came and those investments paid off. If we look at the healthcare in particular, probably healthcare sector was probably the first and foremost sector that was put to the test in terms of the ability of this infrastructure to deal with the challenges at hand. And yes, indeed, those investments paid off. We have seen surge in remote consultation, in remote care, in digital records, in the ability of those healthcare institutions to deliver the care that is required to the people within those countries, within those cities, within the places that we are dealing with, in a way that would not have been possible without that investment. Technology played a very critical role in that transformation, and we believe the transformation will continue. For example, if we were to look at how was that achieved? Number one, there was really resilient, strong, flexible, agile infrastructure. On top of that, cybersecurity was core and key to the ability of delivering these services. And then finally, the application on top of that, which is our ability to deliver those remote consultation, whether through the video conferencing or through the applications that were delivered remotely to those users. Globally, if we see, we have today a little bit over half of the world population that are connected. Those who are connected are at a huge advantage, and those who are unconnected, unfortunately, are not. Talent is without a doubt is distributed, but the opportunity is not. And therefore, when we look at the investment that was done in the region, it has indeed paid off.
Thank you so much. And you helped me transition to my next question when you touched on the talent. As we all know, I think the gentlemen agree with me that talent, people and talent are at the heart of any technological advancements. So I'd like to hear from you, Dr. Redha, and from the rest of my panelists. How does it help unlock the potential of the people and then address some of the inefficiencies? I'm sure that you have also confronted some resistance to change, some rigid process, especially when it comes to interacting with the new technology. So the people, process, technology ecosystem. And so I'd like to hear from you. And I also have one question from the audience around what are the initiatives taken around the human capital in support of all of what's coming in and any challenges. I know that the question is wide, but let us cover the talent aspect of the technology.
I think to Mr. Osama's point, when the pandemic started, we were lucky that we had a mandate by His Highness the ruler of Dubai to have a doctor for every citizen. So when the mandate came out, we started thinking, how can we provide a doctor for every citizen without technology? So technology was the only enabler for that mandate. Alhamdulillah, we geared up our technology stacks and equipment, and then we had doctors do these teleconsultations. Luckily, resistance was very little because everybody saw where we were going. The pandemic did not start yet. A few months later, the pandemic started and everybody knew what His Highness was referring to have a doctor in every pocket, ideally. So now the mandate hopefully will be bigger to include the entire UAE for the citizens and the residents of the UAE to enjoy this doctor in every pocket. Another example is artificial intelligence. So we saw artificial intelligence pose a threat a few years back and still continues to, in theory at least, to take a lot of jobs or delete a lot of jobs or make people idle. I don't think that is true. I think that is a myth. If I was to deploy artificial intelligence in my team today, I would look at, as you mentioned, the scut work, the repetitive work, high volume work that an algorithm can do repetitively better than a human being. But I would free the human being's brains for something more complicated than repetitive work. So I think algorithms and AIs are not there to take people's jobs. They are there, at least in a healthcare sense, to free my schedule as a doctor and to make me focus on the real important things rather than the repetitive work. And I can use an example that we implemented in Dubai Health Authority on medical fitness. So everybody does chest x-rays for their medical fitness and for their visa processing. If I was to do 1,000 x-rays per day, 950 would be normal, and the 50 would have some issues with them. So the doctor today doesn't have to look at 1,000. The 950 can go immediately out of the queue, go to the next step, and be issued their visa at a faster pace. The 50 that had some sort of issues, then you can bring a doctor and utilize their brains to solve these 50 issues. So the doctor is happy, they don't have to see 1,000 x-rays. They can focus on 50, and maybe out of this 50 they might get a publication or two, because they might pick up a rare disease or what have you. And the customer is happy as well. So it's a win-win situation, I think, where the algorithm is happy, the doctor is happy, and the organization is happy, and finally and foremost, the patient is happy, or the customer is happy.
Thank you so much. Engineer Eisa, your thoughts on talent?
The way I look at talent is slightly different. For me, I think everybody in the organization is a talent. Having the old mindset of only certain people are smart or have skills, the others are normal, is not acceptable in today's business environment. There are minimum acceptable level of skills, and I would say technology, the strength that everybody should have in the business. If we look like probably 10 years back, I look at my father, his phone was not a smartphone. But today he can easily use those smartphones. And we're talking about people in the 70s and 80s that can easily use the smartphones. The technology enhanced and improved to a level where it is more user-friendly, it's easier, and it's to function. It gives you, with fewer steps, you reach to what you want. So with this advancement in technology, I think everybody should be talented enough, I would say, to use technology and accept. Resistant to technology is just not resistant to technology itself, but it's a general human resistance to change, let's say. And I think smartly we have to introduce change in an acceptable way. You don't give him a heavy meal immediately. It has to be a smaller piecemeal until he's adjusted to that. And I think this is what we're going. This is how we do it in our business. If we tell them tomorrow we'll remove all the papers and we will not have any meetings, it's going to be difficult. But we start with elemental areas and we see the bigger picture until we gradually pick up their level of acceptance to technology. With time, you see everybody is like business as usual. If you look at the pandemic, there was a huge advantage during the pandemic. Everybody in the world was using videos to run meetings and conferences like this one. If we go a few years back, we would have thousands of audiences around us. Now I think people are watching us remotely and easily. They accept that. They go and click on the link and see. And this is how we're doing. We're becoming more hybrid easily. And I think this is the advantage of the pandemic. Certain resistance are gone. And I think with time, resistance will be less if we introduce change management properly.
Thank you so much. Peter, I know you are expert and you are one of the global PMI's volunteer. I have a question from the audience on how project management contributes to digital transformation. Would you help us address this question?
That's a good question, actually, and it aligns with what we're talking about here. First, let me say technology is always about the people at the end of the day. We're creating this technology for the people. Probably sometimes we are focused too much on the technology itself, and we should give it a little bit of shift and focus to the people around, give them the minute to adopt, to train, to upskill, and to me, there's a very clear formula, and probably it will answer this question as well. You need to look at what computers are good at. As you said, data, organizing data. AI can help you find fraud in 1 million record of a credit card. Great. But what humans are good at is completely different. Innovation, creative ideas, solution. This is something very big for an algorithm. So here comes the formula. we help the people, the employees, the professionals, the project managers to focus on learning first the explicit knowledge, which is the science of the profession, which you cannot skip. Then we enable them to earn tacit information or tacit skills, skills that have to do with what we call today soft skills. How to talk, communication, emotional intelligence, how you story tell. Then I think we ask them to throw their passion into this and then assess, learn, adapt, and keep repeating this to grow, to skip steps to the future while AI and computers are still behind. And this is how we go through. So to what you said, Doctor, I think absolutely this is a win-win for the algorithm and for the people, because we are going to focus on what the humans are good at. And the computer will only help us with what the computer is good at.
Thank you so much. Osama, I have also some questions touching on angles with regards to the talent capabilities. The CFO concerned with the cost and investments and pushing towards that and control when it comes to the transformation. Also the project management capabilities combined with digital transformation. I have also a question around sometimes the need perhaps to integrate and introduce a business analyst management. So what are your thoughts on the key pillars when it comes to the success with all of these competing discipline and framework coming in together towards a successful digital outcome?
Thank you, Grace, for that question. That's a very, I think, a multidimensional question, and I would like to, hopefully, I can remember to address all the points. Let me start actually with regards to the project management and with regards to the business analyst. If we look at during the pandemic and a study that we have conducted, we found that CIOs, IT decision makers in the region were put under pressure to accelerate all projects that were at hand in terms of digital transformation. And that to a point where some of those projects had to be accelerated by probably as long as a year. So reduce the time frame that they initially estimated, reduce it by about a year. And therefore, we believe that institutions like PMI, as well as business analysts, project management, plays a very critical role. Going back to talent, agreeing with Dr. Redha and with my esteemed colleagues, we can't talk about talent without talking about artificial intelligence. If you were to look into the literature, academia, all the studies or the research, you will find probably two extremes of the spectrum. We at Cisco, and I think the panel also agree that we really believe that we need both and both augment each other. If we were to take an example that when we manage to put human with machine, we actually managed to do the impossible, and the massive industrial revolution that we are experiencing today actually is powered primarily by the capabilities of human, but then augmented by the machines available to us. And therefore, when we take that similar example and we look at the talent, if we manage to bring the right talent augmented with, again, in this case, compute capability, we are going to really achieve the impossible. Let me just use some statistics. We at Cisco believe in huge talent. So number one, we think if we manage to connect the unconnected, number one, we are going to be able to create an incremental economic impact with more than $6.7 trillion to the global economy. Number two, we will be able to bring more than 500 million people out of poverty. We really believe that this is absolutely possible, but also technology will play a critical role. We at Cisco started what we call the Net Academy in the region, in the Middle East and Africa region back in 1997. And to date, we have more than 1,600 academies, and the UAE has a great fair share of that. And we are operating in more than 60 countries in the region, the Middle East and Africa. And we have graduated more than 370 students with actual networking and technology certification capability. All of those talents today, they are playing a critical role in accelerating the transformation. So in summary, we really believe that talent is extremely required. When we manage to augment it with the machine capability, providing the right skills, as my colleagues mentioned, we believe that we can achieve the impossible.
Thank you so much. I'd like to stay with you because I have a question related to your thoughts on AI. I would like to link AI application to project management. Are there any specific application you can share with the audience on how AI is supporting project management as a practice? Any specific application or example you can share with us?
Yeah, so that's a great question. First, let's go back to maybe a small definition of AI, right? So AI is an umbrella of using the computer capability really to automate certain things. But what's really the difference between AI and regular computing capability is really AI actually develops a brain on its own and start actually learning. But what really made AI so core to what we do today is really three primary things. Number one is the compute power that is available to us across. Number two is about the algorithms that have advanced quite a bit. And number three, which is extremely important, is the availability of data. So when we bring that into the project management capability, and I think here, if we take a look, we are looking at the panel today, and we are talking about healthcare. Actually, in the projects within healthcare, AI played extremely critical role. If we look, for example, in the real estate capability, AI also play massively critical role to build those real estate that are safe, for inhabitants and actually safe for natural disasters and other capabilities. But also, if we look at advisory, we think that AI bringing the right data set in the right context will enable better project management that with better outcome and more scalable outcome.
Very insightful, thank you. And I'd like to thank the audience for such an engagement and such a question. I have also a question around the challenge. So I think people are worried. What is the biggest challenge? If I need to hear from my panelists, one biggest challenge around digital transformation, Dr. Redha, how would you answer that question?
I think at the macro level would be changing directives. We always aspire to the best, we always aspire to the better. Changing direction, if you have already onboarded a ship that's going to a certain direction, could be a risk and could be a challenge because you start the build and then you start building another. So that waste of investment or waste of efforts can be a challenge in its own right, as you cannot build sometimes upon certain technologies. You need to take this technology out and build a new one. I think the second risk, specifically on governments that are thinking of becoming a digital organization or digital government, I think the level of bureaucracy can be a risk sometimes, or can pose as a delay. And as you know, today technology, if you don't jump on it and become on board of that ship and run fast, I think you'd be delayed very, very soon, or become idle even. I think these two levels of challenges, I think we've tried to eliminate in terms of digital transformations.
Addition to that?
As we, I think, collectively agree that technology transformation is happening and will happen and will grow even faster than the pace it was a few years back. I think the biggest challenge will be to where do we reach with that technology without affecting human beings. Human, at the end of the day, the technology should help him, not the other way around. The human shouldn't be the one who's serving the technology. So we should go with the advancement in technology in different domain and industries, and especially in project management, but to a level that we really balance between distributing the role where, as my colleague said here, that there are human intelligence that the machine cannot do, emotional intelligence, diplomacy, friendship. There are things that you can, for example, in project management, we say stakeholder management. Technology cannot do that. The stakeholder, you find a social engineer doing that solution for you, but a robot cannot do that. So my biggest worry would be that we sometimes don't differentiate between the skill set that's required by a human and the skill set that we can, outsource it to technology to do it for us.
Thank you so much. I'd like to add what PMI is calling the power skills. So every skill that is not technical, things like empathy, complex problem solving. So those are very critical in addition to any technical. Any challenge, Peter, you would like to add based on your experience?
Well, probably I would like to highlight here from PMI also the portfolio management practice. And I think in every digital transformation and technology investments, portfolio management is what helps you to choose what is right to be executed. Nobody has unlimited resources or unlimited money. So such practice will tell you this organization must spend and prioritize this budget to this project. That's portfolio management. So I wanted to highlight this as a risk in digital transformation, whereby organization might just follow a trend or do this project because the others did this project. I think this is a mistake. Better to stick with the priorities.
Thanks. You reminded us with the thought leadership that PMI has introduced years ago on portfolio management. One of the studies we did with our third parties is that it doesn't hurt to terminate a project. If a project has just stay on and not aligned with the strategy, so better terminate and reduce costs. Osama, any addition on what my gentlemen are sharing about the challenges with digital transformation?
Well, there is quite a bit of addition. I think number one, in digital transformation, the biggest challenge is probably people. If we look at the intersection of technologies, processes, and people, processes definitely can be taken care of hugely by the institutions like the PMI and helping with those project management and really driving and transforming the processes. When it comes to technologies, over the years, we have made massive advancement in technologies. We continue to do that, but people probably will come first and foremost. But the second piece, which is related to technology, I think that's facing digital transformation is really cybersecurity. If we look today, and there's a study that we have conducted as well, what we have found out that during the pandemic, more than 70% of ransomware attacks were actually done using readily available tools that can be purchased on dark web or whatever by any just regular hacker, and that has presented tremendous challenge because we have also seen a surge in cybersecurity attacks, because the more we rely on those infrastructure, and now we are putting all these real life and mission critical applications from healthcare to finance to transportation to to education to agriculture to oil and gas to every single industry. The more dependent on technology we become, the more every little thing counts, and therefore cybersecurity is a very big topic. We believe that to address this challenge, when we bring again the artificial intelligence capability and the automation coupled with the human capability, this is definitely an angle that can be brought. Additionally, is really managing those projects, because oftentimes matching the right outcome, which is at the end of the day, those digital transformation are supposed to be delivering on business outcome and KPIs that advance and accelerate whatever that business is. And having those projects really on time or shorter, as I mentioned earlier, some of those decision makers were forced to actually reduce their timeline significantly. Reducing the timeline without any compromise on quality, cost, or the outcome that expected is definitely another challenge that potentially PMI can be one of those help that they can deliver to those organizations.
Thank you so much. Very insightful. Redha, a question for you as well, as we're talking on the challenges. So I think some of the audience are a bit worried on how digital transformation can add value to a medicine where the medicine is supposed to be very accurate. So the level of confidence, and as you know, the beneficiary is not a user, the beneficiary is a patient, and the healthcare is transforming more and more towards long-term well-being and outcomes-driven. So would you think that digital transformation can add to that, and what's the level of accuracy in a well-being aspiration, long-term one?
Right. From experience, we've done a proof of concept project within our facilities in Dubai Health Authority, and we've compared artificial intelligence results with human being results. So the result was 95% accuracy for the artificial intelligence. What does that mean? And the artificial intelligence was reading chest x-rays, simple chest x-rays, with some defects here and there, and some of them have been put there deliberately to be checked, to check the accuracy of the artificial intelligence. And we've compared the results to the human being or the doctors. The results were much lower with that side. The reason being, if you look at the same X-ray as a doctor at 8 o'clock after you've had your coffee, you've had your breakfast, I think you would have better accuracy at judging this X-ray compared to 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
So we have to go to hospital in the morning.
On a Thursday evening, I think you wouldn't achieve 80%. Give or take, the doctor might have had a fight with their wife or something. So it might collectively add on to a misdiagnosis maybe. Whereas the artificial intelligence, if taught properly, would achieve 95% at 8 a.m., at 8 p.m., no coffee, no breakfast, no wife. So I think the accuracy would be more of a consistency. And that's digitally and literature-wise proven. What we've also seen is that a different kind of debate was, how would you as a doctor allow an algorithm do your job, the job of the diagnosis? Well, for one, diagnosis is always being done by machines, specifically for, let's say, the PCR. PCR is a machine diagnosis. It's not a doctor diagnosis. The doctor will base their diagnosis based on a machine that tells us if the patient is either positive or negative. So the machines have been doing this diagnosis all the time. Two is that we did not completely delegate the diagnosis to the algorithm. We still run hand in hand, human being check on the X-ray, should there be something, or sometimes just pull a sample. At a different level, FDA has already approved an algorithm to do the doctor's job. Again, in the concept of, or in the sense of not to take the doctor's job, but to complement the doctor's job and to achieve speed, accuracy, and free up the doctor for other exciting and more interesting work.
And yeah, Eisa, I had the chance to be welcomed at your EPMO, where I've sensed personally the amazing new ways of working and the amount of, not the technological intervention, I have seen lots of human capital, and I have also heard from you on how agility is embedded in new ways of working. I think the weight, especially at the planning stage, and to the point of Peter, you were in a very successful way linking portfolio to program and project management. If you can share with us this wonderful planning platform that you are putting in place, where the human capabilities are playing much of a critical role, and the technology might be interfered, but I could see more of your strategic intelligence that was, please share with the audience that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. As you know, we are in a very fast-paced industry. Now the customers are very demanding. At the end, we're building or developing for end customers. And today, with that, you have so many challenges. We are talking about one of the maturest government around us with strong, I would say, specifications, requirements from different stakeholders. Day by day, they are improving. So to cope with those changes and to cope with supply chain, even changes. Also, customer appetite are changing. We can't do it in a classical, traditional project management way. We have to use the classical and twist it a little bit to be more agile. I was speaking probably 2 months ago about how we do it in a big workshop. And also, as we are transforming to digital solutions to transfer our project management and portfolio management. I don't want the technology to be faster. I want the people, the business in place, and the processes to be a little bit more advanced. And then we leverage and technology, we don't lose that level of agility that we have. And to do that, you need people skills there. You need to have classifications of project sizes, project importance, hierarchy of projects. We manage projects that are like 1 million, and we projects that are 2-3 billion or 5 billion plus. So there are different ways. So in a portfolio level, we have to classify the projects and the teams and the way we manage those projects. So we need different, I would say, roadmap for different projects and sensitivities of those projects as well.
Yeah, excellent. So as I said, I appreciated the amount of effort you're putting on the planning and the intelligence there. And as you mentioned, this becomes critical, and there you can add any other ingredients to this. This is amazing.
It's an operational
Yeah.
day to day, hour by hour. Yeah.
Impressive. Peter, I know also you're integrating between your expertise in project program portfolio and the technological advancement. We would like to hear from you, from a project management perspective, what are the critical skills that are being advanced or progress as to just adding more and more accuracy, efficiency to our profession as project managers or program managers?
Sure. So from where I come or the position I held, you need to satisfy your client. You need the organizations, when they pay money, they want to make sure they're getting the value. To what the colleagues have mentioned, people skill is very, very critical, regardless of what machine you have or what processes you have. So we continuously have to build training systems, enablement systems, for our employees, for our staff, for our professionals to be able to handle such situation. Now, if you have the right people in the right place, things becomes much easier, but you still need to have that portfolio level planning and the program management planning in order to be able to integrate these skills with someone from the client side to create the synergies and be able to execute projects successfully. That's not a very simple thing, like I just explained, but this is how we should do it.
Thank you so much. Osama, your expertise also to the importance of a project management capabilities, how are we advancing there and how are you linking it to Peter's point, to a portfolio, to a strategic objective achievements?
So in addition to what the esteemed panelists already discussed, I would say that we are experiencing today the economy of end user centricity, whether it's being the customer, the consumer, the end user who actually takes that service or benefit from what we have. Technology is really I would say the platform, it's the medium that's actually enabling this move or this massive shift from where historically we used to be consumed with the product and or the services, and that has completely shifted to the end user now, where everyone, the expectation is extremely high, but also now it is so normalized that we provide this customized service where one size does not fit all. Now it's actually completely dependent on this particular end user, anywhere from consuming services to consuming products to training and development. And the way that we see things that today, for example, the new term that has been introduced to the pandemic is the hybrid work. And now hybrid work, or I even take that even maybe further, and I would say that completely hybrid world, that hybrid world where now we have completely lost the divide between the physical and the virtual world, whether that's for education, for healthcare, for project management, for any services that you name it. Today, this is the interlink between the physical and the virtual world is so interlinked that technology is playing extremely a critical role. We think that technology, when augmenting the human capability, can bring the accuracy, can bring the confidence, but also the outcome that we expect out of it to a level that we have not seen before.
Thank you so much. So I think it's very enriching, and I think I don't want to stop this, but just for the sake of time, I'd like to give just one word for my panelists on what you would like to say on the topic and anything for such an engaging audience.
Well, thank you, Grace, for having us here, and thank you to PMI HQ, MENA, to host us. I think I myself learned a lot from my colleagues here from different industries. However, what's key here is human skills is always going to be important. Whether today we feel there is a threat from AI, tomorrow there might be a threat from MR, mixed realities, or whichever the technology is. I think irrespective, God created human beings with a lot of creativity and the power to solve solutions and the power to teach algorithms to solve solutions. And I think the human skill and talent is something that's never going to be replaceable, whatever we do.
Luckily. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Eisa, what do you
Digital transformation will be an ongoing thing, and it's a great thing to happen to organizations, to industries, to project management. On the construction and real estate domain, I think artificial intelligence with Internet of Things will complement each other, and there will be a better way of buildings and managing buildings. When it comes to project management, I can see, I think probably in a few years, 5 to 10 years from now, it will be a knowledge area in project management. I think PMI will have to consider as a business as usual. It's not a trend. It's gonna be the future, and it's gonna be normal in a few years from now. Like resources and other knowledge areas, and as you can see in the PIN book, you will see something about technology. I can see that. And project managers of the future will not debate about shall we have technology or not. It's gonna be something very normal to have.
Very insightful. It makes a lot of sense.
And maybe the education should start in schools to grow up the future project managers.
Definitely, yeah, of course.
Peter, any
Yeah,
final thought?
Thank you so much, Grace. Thanks for everybody. And I really would be able to summarize this, or at least what I learned today, is to focus a lot on today to create tomorrow. I mean, planning is very important. Future will happen, but a big piece of it will depend on what you do today.
Yeah, excellent. So more importance on planning ahead for better future. That's a good statement. Osama, as an author and as a leader in the technology.
Yeah, many thanks to you, Grace, and of course to PMI for facilitating such an enriching topic. In closing, I would like to say we at Cisco, our vision and purpose is really to power an inclusive future for all. As I mentioned earlier, connecting the unconnected is going to create tremendous opportunity. And we believe technology is going to play a critical role of, for that or through that. But we don't want to lose sight about the sustainability and our ability to leave the world better than what we found it. And therefore, we are taking the circular economy sustainability extremely seriously. And I agree 100% with the last comment around the planning is, the best way to predict the future is really to participate in, designing it or to participate in building it. We believe that technology can absolutely play a better future and take what we have today to even a whole new level. So thank you so much for facilitating that, Grace and PMI, and looking forward for future collaboration.
Thank you so much. I think it's the role and mission for PMI, which we jointly work together with our president of the chapter and all of the chapter to put together such platforms. So PMI has always been about advocacy and community building and knowledge sharing. And I think PMI's mission has been always on turning ideas into reality. And we know that we can do that while ignoring any technological transformation. And we learned a lot today how humanity should be at the heart. And I think the sustainability, humanity, talking about all what's going on with the environment, I would add that angle too. We always need to invest in people, in technology, while caring about the future and well-being for the environment and for the society. So I really thank you for your valuable and precious time in helping PMI to just share thoughts and knowledge. And I would like to thank such an engaging audience. And we keep in touch for more knowledge and better world. Thank you. Thank you.
So much.
Thanks, everyone.